So the
Listen, we were
broadcast is
sitting up
live.
here talking about the
Yeah.
zodiac signs.
Yeah,
Look.
I'm like, I don't know. My mother, as we were talking to zodiacs and Scorpios, and I don't
Right,
co-sign on anything. You know,
all that. Okay, we listen. I know. Yeah, yeah. Good evening out there, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you so much for joining the Ronnie and Yashika's dating discussion. Today we are in block 3 of our 12 days till Christmas, and block 3, day 1, we are focused on flirt on, flirt on, flirt on, and we are speaking about putting your guard down. And if you have joined us before or you did not catch the other videos, the other 6 days, be sure you go back and watch our videos because these videos have been really insightful and educational for those of us who are out here single, looking to date, and bring 22 in, just doing something a little bit different than what we've been doing before. If you are watching us for the first time, be sure to subscribe to our Facebook as well as our YouTube, and be sure to let us know you're here. And if you're watching us on a replay, be sure to hashtag replay. Also, make sure that you allow StreamYard access to you so that if you decide to post a video or, excuse me, have a comment, we will know that you are here. I am Yasheka Foster, affectionately known as the artist of dating, and I empower successful women to date through self discovery, to find the love of their life while finding balance to do it all. And my handsome co host, you on mute. You are on mute, Ronnie Walker. You are on mute.
you know what? I just literally just put it there a second ago. Good evening, Yashika. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to any of those that are listening in different parts of the world. And I've realized that we do have people in different parts of the world that are tuning in. My name is Ronnie Walker. I'm master coach of exceptional dating, relationship, and sex. And I deal with dating and relationships. I'll definitely coming from the space of self development. I thank you. And before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone to like on YouTube and as well as share, as it helps drive more people to listen in and tune in to the value that Yashika and I are providing on this podcast and this platform. So thank you.
Thank you. Listen, before we get into this, somebody they were overhearing a part of Ronnie and I's conversation. We were talking about zodiac signs when we went live, and didn't realize that. Well, I knew we were live, but we just kept on with the conversation. But someone's asked me about Scorpios, and listen, I am a Creole woman. My paternal grandmothers believed in the zodiacs and all that, but I am not going to get into that today.
Well, you know what? It just may
Listen,
tie into
DM me
that.
if
It
you
just
want me
may
to know
tie
what I
into
want
this.
to say. DM me.
See, it just may tie into that because people really love their zodiacs and things of that
Yes,
nature. And we were talking Scorpio. My mother's a Scorpio. I love her to
listen,
death. No, I love my mom to death. She's an incredible woman. But then again, see, I know my mother as my
your
mother.
mother.
So,
Exactly. You know your mother as your mother. My
exactly. So,
grandmother.
no matter
Both
what,
of my
and
grandmothers were Scorpios. My
okay, see,
maternal grandmother and my paternal grandmother. They were both Scorpios.
you
And
know.
believe you me.
So, for those of you that are Scorpio, and I'm a Cancer, so with that being said, I've heard 500 different definitions of what a Cancer is, and I can honestly say most of them don't match me. But then again, I guess that's what we talk about the evolution and evolving. So maybe that was part of who I was back in then. But like any man or woman, if there are good things to say about a particular zodiac, then I'm going to co-sign on it, and if it's bad, then I'm not. So
Yes,
that's just where we
yes,
are. But
yes.
I've dated Scorpios and been in a relationship with Scorpios and had wonderful times. And then again, when I think about it, I've dated quite a few of zodiac signs. So, but that's a conversation for another podcast, Yashika. So let's
Absolutely.
get back into.
Absolutely. I don't know who is this
Sorry.
saying they're Scorpio, but listen, if you are a man or a woman, listen, DM me so that I can tell you what I know about
Well,
Scorpio.
if it's a woman, I love my Scorpio women. I just, that's just where I stand. So I'm going to leave it there.
Oh, Ronnie, what you sipping on tonight?
I have a glass of single malt Macallan. Oh, I shouldn't have said that because I'm waiting on a sponsorship from them. But yes, I have a single malt scotch that I'm sipping on this evening. And I thought about a Cabernet, but I just figured, you know what? I'm going to do scotch this evening. Since this is a pretty mellow, yet intense subject that we're going to cover tonight. What are you sipping on, Yashika?
Absolutely. Well, I had some. I think I drunk it, but I had what was it? Some apple cider because I'm literally fighting a bug.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
COVID. I tested negative for COVID and the flu, but I've been fighting a bug. So today, for the first time, I had some cider and I put some vodka in it. And so I'm feeling real warm in the inside. So whatever is in it, hopefully it'll fight it off. And
That's what
so
okay.
yeah, I can still see it all in my face and me not feeling well, but I'm getting better back to self. But anyway, Ronnie, listen. So we are talking about block three, which is flirt on, putting your guard down. And I think the reason why I did not want to, I use the word putting your guard down as opposed to lowering your guard, because I think that sometimes when people hear the expression, putting your guard or lowering your guard, they think about it in a way where we're telling them to, other words, not be aware, not be savvy when it comes to certain things, or allowing people to, for lack of a better word, get over on you. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I put it in the context of putting your guard down. In other words, letting your guard down is one thing, but actually taking your guard and placing it down is something different in my mind. And the reason why I've titled it this is because I thought about what someone had told me once upon a time. Matter of fact, I've heard this from several men, out and about. They told me that I appear like I am a married woman or I'm a taken woman. And for many years, of course, when I was married, that was, of course I was supposed to appear that way. But then I noticed that even after I was divorced, I guess the way that I carry myself on the outside, it was as if I walked with these blinders on, or I kept my head kind of like, not really looking down, but making sure not to, get eye contact with anybody, or to never let a man think that I was staring at him from across the room or anything like that. And so once I became more aware of what I was doing and the way that I had carried myself, I became a little bit more open and putting my guard down. So now I believe that my personality or what I display is a little bit more inviting and open. And so when I I don't mind about the whole and we titled this flirt on because I'm okay with the, looking someone from across the room and smiling and doing all those things because I am a single woman. So, and to let people know that I am open and I have put my guard down in terms of not being so, like we said in military, eyes and head straight forward. You know what I mean? And so when we're talking about flirt on, this is one of the things that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, men look at when it comes to a woman. If they find a woman attractive, they may stare at her once or twice. And if she doesn't um like allow them to catch eye contact, or if she immediately turns away, I believe that's like a little signal to a man to let him know that maybe she's a spoken for woman or she's in a relationship or something like that. What do you see about that? Am I
It's funny
wrong
you
in that
mention
assessment?
that. It's I've on a number of occasions had conversations with women. It could be several women, and yet there'll be one in there that for some reason, without even looking to see if there's a ring, that does have that kind of energy that they are, with someone, committed relation or married.
Mhm.
And it's a funny thing because well, how did you know that? How did you pick that up? And this is one of those things that you sense, and if you listen. Now, does that mean you're going to be right all the time? No. But it's interesting, and again, we're talking from the space, gentlemen. I'm going to coming from the space that we're not out here talking about the hit it and quit it. We're talking about a man who's intentional and he's looking to meet Mrs. Right.
Mhm.
Yes, we are looking for signals. Some men, and I get it, some men want the challenge, of course, once you walk up there, and then, the kind of hard to get or a little round the way conversation you may have and not really saying where you are, where you're not. But of course, we feel that she's trying to feel him out to see if she's going to let him go any further than, she wants him to. But yes, Men are looking for a sign that says, hey, yes, I am open to further conversation with you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, let's see what you got. So here it is that we're going to state our case as to who
Right.
we are. But yes, straight, again, there is no clear cut science to this. But what I do know after all these years of coaching many men and women is that, again, not that he's supposed to read minds, but something, it could be a stare across wrong. It could be a smile. And doesn't necessarily mean that every time she says hello back to you, that's an open sign that, oh, yeah, she wants me. But
Mm-hmm.
again, if you're in an environment, let's just say, and I'm always going to use a standard, cocktail party, and you're at the bar or you're just at a place where you're looking across the room. I always love that scenario. And you look and you catch eyes, and she gives a smile, you give a smile, and you smile hello, she smiles hello. There you go. It's like at that point, dude, go in.
Right.
that
Right.
that's your cue. That's your cue. And so, yes, again, this is what men are looking for. It doesn't have to be, over the top, or and here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you wear. So whether it's cleavage everywhere or it just could be a turtleneck, it really comes across the physiology and the body language of the woman that will let a man know that, listen, you know, bring yourself over and make yourself known.
Mm-hmm. And I think something that people have to realize, especially women, right? Because I've heard women say this in conversation. Well, I don't want to look desperate, or I don't want to look, I don't want to come off as this way or that way. But there's a way to present yourself where you're, like I said, putting your guard down, where you're not looking like you're just ready to jump on, whatever's moving, but just in a way where you look inviting. Because I know sometimes we walk around with these expressions on our faces, and I know for me, I'm guilty of it. I can be out and about, and I know for a fact this has happened because it'll be someone that say, "Hey, I seen you at this store and I spoke to you and you didn't speak back." And I'm like, "Well, what day was that?" They be like, "Well, I seen you yesterday." And I'm like, "When I ran into such and such store," they like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Listen, when I was in there, I was focused on remembering what I had to get. So I didn't pay attention to anything going on around me, right?" And so, if I didn't hear you, wasn't because I was being, rude or disrespectful in any kind of way. I just literally had like this tunnel vision about what I needed to get while I was in there. And so I use that as an example to remind us, especially us as women, that sometimes we have to really be mindful of the expressions that we have on our faces and the way that we are presenting ourselves. Because when we're thinking about, what we got to cook the kids for dinner, or let me remember to pick up milk, from the store, and you're thinking about that because you're thinking about all the things you have to do. You're not doing it or walking around with this scrounge look on your face or this angry look on your face or anything like that. It's just that your mind is somewhere else because you're focused on one thing. You don't want to forget anything. And so sometimes people can take that as you don't want to be bothered, or you're not available, or you're not open to the possibilities. You know what I mean? And so for all you men out there, sometimes y'all have to remember that, even when you guys want to say something to us, say something about the fruit, say, hey, are you going to buy those plums or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, say something, because usually if we are in this trance, or this state of mind where we're trying to just get in and get out, and someone says something to us, we will be open to it. And a man will know if she's interested or not. Because if she says something like no and walk off, then that's pretty clear cut that she's not interested. But if she say, well, I don't know, what do you suggest, or something like that, that means she's open to, the possibilities of what you got next. You know what I mean? Are you open? Are you, whatever? You know what I mean? So it's like we have to sometimes we have to just be shooken out of our state of mind because we're focused.
It's a strange dance, and this is something that I remember. It took me off. You mentioned this, and yet I get flashbacks of my early days in the club. But I'll get to that in a second. But you are right. You are 100% right. Men, we have to be aware of the way women think. And this is so funny you mentioned it, because last year I was listening to not last year, last week, I'm listening to a number of podcasts, and there were some women who really admit that there are times that they're intentional. They have a face on them because they're so focused on so many other things for that day, that doesn't welcome a
Mhm.
man approaching or things of this nature. Or at the time she's in a certain state, he approaches and she snaps back. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until she got back into the car that she realized, that really wasn't. I mean, the gentleman was just, so again, gentlemen, don't take that personal. Really
Yeah.
don't take that personal. There are times I've been told, "Hey, Ronnie, I saw you, I spoke to you, and you didn't even." And again, and these things happen on both sides. At
Mhm.
the same time, gentlemen, and further proof of this is I'm trying to remember the show, but there's consistent studies on the brains of men and women, and showing how women can think of anything from 4 to 6 things at the same time. Men, if we're good,
Mhm.
2 to 3. They say that we're one track now. Man, you have some men who can think, you can multitask and think that we're good at that. Problem solving. This is one of those things. But again, I've consistently heard where women could just think of more things at one time.
Mhm.
So it's making sure there's gas in the car, kids are fed. What is someone wearing tomorrow? Oh, I got this date. Or when is someone going to ask me on a date? Whatever it may be. So we have to be cognizant of that. And I get it. Ladies, understand this. Sometimes a man is in a position where he realizes that regardless of the face that you have, this is his one shot. You caught him. He didn't plan on meeting what he felt at that time was the woman of his dreams. At least looked that way, and here she is. And it's Lord, I've been manifesting. Boom, she's in the produce aisle. And
Yeah.
the same thing, he says, "Okay, are you gonna buy them plums?" And she's looking at dude like, "Really? Is this the best one you got?" But here's the thing, and and this is the thing I grew up as being a man. I remember, there's one gentleman, I shouldn't, I'm not going to mention his name, but we would go to a club, Yashika. Me, my best friend to this day, and this gentleman. And we would go.
Mhm.
And whereas, you know how you can be in a circle, four to
Mhm.
six of you, all in a circle, and you want to ask this one particular guy. Now, you already know. If you're going to walk across, whatever the amount of foot it is from one end to this room to the other, it's 5 times the size is what it is. Okay, so now we
Right.
get the curtain. We go over there. We take a little last shot of whatever we're drinking, and we're going over there to ask this woman to drink, knowing that if the other 5 don't agree with it, that dance ain't going down.
Mhm.
But here's something that I've learned. I saw this gentleman, and it never failed. He would ask the one girl, and she would say no. Instead of giving up and walk away like Ron would, he'd ask the next girl, "You want to
Oh my
dance?"
God. Oh my
And they
God.
would be surprised. "You want to dance?" And she'd say no. And here's the thing that I've learned. Every single time he's done that, I don't care if it's 3 women, 2 women, 7 women, one of them would say yes.
Mhm.
It would never fail. And me and my best friend would be like, he never, is never, no matter how many times he's asked for women, whereas most guys would just give up on the one. And I know that would be me because I've already surveyed the whole 5. And I'm going, mm-mm, they all cute, they all nice, but it's this one that I want. So Ronnie
Right.
has that tunnel vision. If this is it, I'm going in for that one. So if she says no, doesn't mean I give it up. I'm just going to find another way to get there. But at the same
Right.
time, this is what it is. So it's funny that yes, women will then, some women, as they grow older, will admit that there's sometimes that the energy's not right, and
Mhm.
to work on that. Because listen, ladies, there's that man that you said you were manifesting, you were trying for, whatever the case may be, and he may present himself in a space that you may not have been prepared to mate. And this guy is like, look, in a perfect world, she would give me the flip of the hair or the smile, but no, she's up here trying to figure out if she has enough to pay for these groceries, and I'm going to go up there and interrupt that pattern. So it's an interesting dance, and I've seen it
Mhm.
so many times in supermarkets. So it's funny you would mention
Yeah.
buying plums. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
this happen in supermarkets
Yeah.
all the time, all the time. So yes, I'm sorry. I
No,
have
no,
many
no,
stories
no.
like that. I have many
No,
stories like
you're
that.
fine.
It's funny.
You were talking about the club scene. I know, and you just don't have nothing to do with flirting, but I know if it was me and I was with some of my friend girls out to a little get together, and a guy got to me and I was number 2 or 3 on the list, I would just say hell no, because to me, I would feel like what? So I'm like an afterthought or whatever, you know. So that's just me. I would feel like an
Right, right,
afterthought, you
right,
know what I mean? But some people look at it like, well, hey, it just wasn't, because marriages have been made like that, where
right, right.
a guy say, well, I went to go talk to her friend, and her friend turned me down, and she and I got to talking, and now here we are married 20 years later. I mean, marriages happen like that all the time.
That's
But I
true.
know
That
for
is
me,
true.
I would have probably missed out on my blessing, because I'm like, oh hell no, you're not about to come to me after she done turned you down. Yeah, I would be the one mad, because I'd be like, we got to meet. We got to meet at another location, right? We can't meet here. We got to shift it up a little bit. Pretend like I met you at Walmart.
Right. And it is so, and that's how it happens. But not to cut you off, but this is something that again I like at the top of the time, Ishika, where you mentioned that putting your guard down is not being vulnerable to the state where you have
Right,
no idea what's going on. We understand you need to be aware and cognizant of what's going on. And again, going back over the other things that we provided,
hmm
that this will prepare you for that. Because
right,
here's one thing that I've learned in the space of vulnerability, because some people, let's face it, it is a state of uncertainty.
hmm
And nowadays, I mean, just this past weekend, I got no less than 8 different calls of
hmm
women being ghosted.
hmm
And to the point I probably will put the post up tomorrow. But just speaking to men about that whole ghosting thing, that it just leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. But here's the thing, as bad as it is, what it in some ways does is let you know that you probably dodged a bullet.
hmm
Because it's all about a man's character to do that, not give a call or what, to let you know that maybe he felt this way initially, and for some reason, maybe further conversations led him to the space that he, figured that maybe the chemistry is not what he thought. Because these things do happen.
hmm
However, no matter how well you prepare yourself and work on yourself, you can't control the actions of another individual.
hmm
So don't take it personally.
right,
You have to look at it as a gift, and just know that there's no foolproof way that Yashika nor Ronnie
hmm
can prepare you for to say, look, all we're trying to do is get you to be best version of who you are,
hmm
so that you're qualified for that person
hmm
that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so being vulnerable, it does provide uncertainty, but there's no way around it. But that doesn't mean you have to just put yourself out there willy nilly. So I'm glad you explained why you worded it the way you worded it,
hmm
because again, that's so key. And I think far too many people miss this, which is why they hate using the words like vulnerable, or I don't want to put my guard down, and Ron, I'm putting barbed wire around my heart and things of this nature. Well, okay, well, there are clippers that, they clip barbed wire. I mean, again, if a person's that good, and narcissists, are known to be that good, male or female, they can work their way around that.
hmm
So, but again, this is where getting you to be the best you can be. So I thought that was very, very key, that once you're prepared and he's asking about plums, it just may make you giggle. And it's those kind of things that will provide a guard down. But you're still aware. He says, okay, that was a good one. It was corny,
right,
but he
right,
made the effort. But you know
right.
what? Where I was defense, I had the defenses up. Now my guard is down, but I'll listen to you, but I'm still checking to see what you're saying. So it's good that you preface that in the beginning. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And and I just want to say something, because on our in our third block of Flirt On, we don't really talk about ghosting and things like that. But I just want to say something about that part. And if anybody listened to some of our earlier videos, I talked about the time that I was ghosted. I didn't even know it was a thing, because I had never been ghosted before. And as I really understood what it meant, because to go back to that moment, this was about maybe 8 months ago, maybe somewhere up in there. And I had conversed with someone and talked to them several times on the phone. And he came down from DC, and we went out. And um, yeah, we kind of like, went out, and then he told me he was leaving to head back to DC, and then I never heard from him again. And so in my mind, I was ghosted because I really wasn't sure about the definition of the word ghosted. But then the more and more I thought about that, and I really, really evaluated that word and what it meant, and I had to ask myself, Yasheka, did I really get ghosted? And I guess because I felt like it made sense in that sentence, but in
Mm-hmm.
actuality, I really didn't. Because see, here's the thing: he had no obligation to me, right? We went out one time, we chit chatted on the phone prior to that. He didn't have to check to me and say, hey, I no longer want to talk to you on the phone, or I no longer want to see you again. He had no obligation to me. He didn't owe me that. That was me expecting, because we are human and we think that everyone would just say, hey, you know what? This is not going to work out. So it was nice knowing you. So you go your way, I go my way. He didn't owe me that. That's what I would have liked it. But I think that when we say ghost, I really think that we have to really be particular about how we're using that word, because as we go through this block of flirt on, keep that in mind. You went out on a date. I went out with someone, had a great time, and that's all it was. You know what I mean? That's all it was. It was not a ghost, because we weren't at the altar. Now, we were at the altar, or we had months or weeks together, or we had hung out more than one occasion, and there was something going on or whatever, and then he disappeared. That would be ghosting. But after a few phone calls and only going out on one date, that's not really a ghost. It's just that I didn't work for him. And that's okay, because this is part of the dating process. And so I just really wanted to put that out, as, like I said, as we are into this third block of flirt on, because people are, one of the things that we are afraid of. And I won't say fear as in afraid of heights or fear of spiders, just we don't want to feel like we're putting ourselves out there and then this happens. And so we have to remember that things like that is part of the dating process, because not everyone you meet you will click with. Not everyone you meet, you might talk to them on the phone. You may have met them at Walmart, or at a store, and then when you guys go on an official date, you realize that they're not working for you, or you're not working for them, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Because you don't owe that. It's only in that moment where you will realize if something else can come out of it. You know what I mean? And what do you think about that word?
I believe, well, in some cases that we're going to put in certain contexts, ghosting is same. People stood up. They set a time to meet someone for dinner, brunch, breakfast. The person doesn't show up. What I do find sometimes, and this may not be the case in examples that you presented, but someone could say, well, Ronnie, I wasn't obligated to really show up for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, well, let's take it to the extremes. You're on a two-lane highway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're driving one way, cars the other way. No one's really obligated to stay on the other side of that yellow line. If they would
Right.
decide one, I can use this, with people who've been fired or laid off when they've done great things for the company,
Mm-hmm.
or in certain states, right to work. Well, they're not obligated to keep you on there for to
Mm-hmm.
the retirement. But again, I find it unique how people who use that are expecting that of others,
Right.
and that's the thing. Granted, hell, we're not obligated. If we didn't want to wake up tomorrow, we know how to end our life. I mean, things of this nature. We can really take this to different levels. I'm looking in a space that if I say, look, uh, Claudine, let's meet for dinner Friday, 7:30. Like to take you out. I could use a I'm not obligated to call her if I choose to change my mind because I met the next day
Mm-hmm.
Terry and I want to go take her
We,
out.
we we call that stood up. We
Well,
call
so
that
yeah. So,
being stood
but
up.
people say they ghosted. So again, this is when again, when you're putting in your contacts and there are other contacts, and you ask everybody now, there is this quote unquote standard in the Urban Dictionary what ghosting is, and it means this and that. But again, everybody has their definition of it. However, I just believe, from me, a man should be a man of his word.
Mm-hmm.
So, if this is something I'm saying, hey, Yasheka, Friday, 7:30,
Mm-hmm.
steakhouse. then as a man, if I don't feel like it, I'm not obligated. But the right thing to do is to
Mm-hmm.
call Yashika, because here's one thing I know of a man, especially at a certain age. You know Yashika's going to go get her hair done,
Mm-hmm.
makeup. If she has children, she's going to make sure there's a babysitter. All of these things, is just the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I'm real big on talking to men about.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, but here's one thing. These same people think of karma. I says, okay,
Right.
remember, brother, you're not obligated, and maybe you had to change your heart, or whatever the case may be. And then that same brother will sit here and meet what he felt in the produce aisle with the plums,
Yeah.
and this is her. And then he gets ready, washes his car, gets their hair cut, and then boom, guess what happened? She
I
doesn't
mean,
show up.
yeah. I
And
mean,
then
but
when
you
I
guys
and then they're
believe in
calling me,
karma.
and I'm saying, well, dude, she's not obligated to tell you. She didn't have to
I
show
mean,
up.
because and there are several definitions. But I just feel most people use the word ghosting in a way to say, I was talking to someone and they just stopped calling me, or I no longer
Right.
heard from them again. That's
That's
how
true.
most people use it. Whereas that the other word from my dictionary, Shikaism, is stood up. And like I said, no one. You were using the scenario about driving on the highway, about a person doesn't have to abide
The
by the yellow
obligation that your
lines.
word
It's
was there.
almost like when we look at the highway and we call the far left lane the fast lane, right?
That's true.
Although the speed limit on the highway is 65 or 70, but if somebody is in that far left lane going 70, you're telling them to get the heck out the way because go to the slow lane,
Go to the
right?
slow lane,
And
which
so it's almost like a courtesy. It's like that
yeah,
unwritten. And so I think that's what we really want people to do is to
right,
give us the
exactly.
courtesy when in
That's right.
actuality they don't have to. No
Right.
one's
Yeah,
obligated to do so.
and that's true.
You want people to be good humans, but not everybody is good humans,
And that's true.
and I don't really believe that some people believe in karma. I don't. I think some people just believe that, oh well, it happened and it happened. On to
Hmm.
the next. You know what I mean? So I mean that's just. But one thing you did say, as we're wrapping down, something that you said about making a date with someone. So I need to ask you this because I heard this the other day. This question was asked from a Facebook friend of mine, and the question was posed. So if I arrange a date with you and I, for example,
Hmm.
and I tell you, hey, Ronnie, would you like to go out with me on Friday at the steakhouse at 8 o'clock? Okay. You said absolutely. So my question to you is if I'm the one that arranged the date or planned the date or asked you out, who's to call either Thursday or Friday to see if we're still good for the date? Who is it, the person making the date or nobody like who calls? Who calls to confirm the date?
Wow, I had the same conversation earlier today. Someone called me about that. Here's what, again, again, I believe the person who made the date
Hmm.
should call to confirm. Now, is that a hard and fast rule? No. Then let's chalk that up to Ronnieism.
Hmm.
Now, for one's protection, I'm going to say, hey, Thursday or early Friday.
Hmm.
Yashika, we still on
Right.
later this evening?
Right.
Because again, now I'm a man, so getting prepared, now there's some work for men, but nowhere near on the level of a woman getting,
Right.
listen, and if a man does that, okay, well, they call him whatever they want to call him. But I want to know that if I'm going to take my time and I'm setting aside, especially, if I'm feeling you and I'm like, oh man, okay, this is going to be, I want to make sure. Now, I would expect, and again, and here's the thing, as a man, I can understand where a man may be a little bit hesitant because, of course, now we're getting into the whole does he seem desperate? But at
Hmm.
the same time, for someone like me who doesn't punch a clock, time is money, and there's other things that I could do, or, then I'm going to call and say, hey, Yashika, we still good for Friday this evening? We still good for this evening? I'm going to do that. Because for me personally, but I can understand some men and some women feels that if he or she has made the plans, then they should follow through and confirm. Others, and it's so funny you mention that because they felt once it's made, it's in the phone book. When I'm dating myself, if it's in the phone book of the,
Right,
I meant the calendar. If it's in the
right.
calendar, then it's a deal. Once you've made it and we've agreed to it, it's solid. I shouldn't have to confirm a damn thing. If there's a change in plans in terms of you can't make it, then reach out. So again, there will be those who feel that you don't have to confirm. I will then use examples of look, doctors do it.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, if there are, this is why we look at texting now. You look at a lot of these offices and they will text you, hey, listen, just following
Right.
up to make sure. Credit card companies use it when they want to make sure that payment, they want to get their money. Hey, listen, don't forget you got that payment.
Right.
Cable,
You
don't
taking it
your
out the
cable's doing
wall.
me. So all of this is going on. So, okay, Veron, that's business. Well, again, we're talking about a person's time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Time is
time
money.
is something that we can't get back. The money we can make back, we can also wrap up the hairstyle, or we can use a haircut that we got for another event, or whatever the case may be. You don't have to. Anyone who's speaking onto my coaching, I'm just saying, even if we spoke on Monday, you reached out on Monday, I'd like to think that even before Friday, we are speaking
Right.
in between that time. And at some point, we are connecting and in form confirming. Hey, don't forget, Ronnie, don't forget Friday. We could talk about that on Friday,
Yeah.
things of this nature. So I'm all for the confirming. Others may debate me on this.
Yeah.
And I can just speak for me.
Because I think it's the same way with me.
Hmm.
I'm for the confirming. And hell, I'm at the point where even if I made the date, I feel like the guy should still call me and ask me, "Sugar, we still going out?" That's just me. Don't be like me. I'm just saying, it's just me because I want him to take the role now. Remember, I'm a dance in stress. I want him to pick it up now. I didn't
And
throw it
this
out
is
there.
why
He
we
gotta
have this
throw it
show
out.
because men, and
You
this
know,
is
like,
what we have to remember. We got to. Yashika's giving you some gems, so
yeah. You're
this
like,
is
you
what
ain't got
women like her think.
I thought, yeah,
They
because I
they
didn't,
they gave you the ball. Now you got to
yeah,
take the ball and.
I need you to go listen, wrap it on up. Like, you see what we doing here, right? You see what we doing. But that's just me. That's just me, because like you said, time is money. Because I'm the person that shows up to the doctor's appointment and say, "Hey, I know I'm 30 minutes late,
Okay.
so I just came in here to reschedule." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I kid you not. Say, listen, what's the day? Today is what? What is the day? Monday?
Today's
Monday.
Monday.
Friday, I had an appointment. I called and made an appointment. Just goes to show how I am. That's why people have to call me and remind me of stuff. And I'm all for the call me because real quick story. I had an appointment already set for Friday. But when I called to make another appointment that I realized was going to be in the same area as my other appointment, I told the lady, "Well, you know what? I gotta be in your area at 2:30. So can you see me before then? Then that way I can just knock out two appointments in one day." So she said, "Fine, come in at 11." I said, "You know what? I'll be there." So I get done with her about 12. In my mind, I got time to go grab me some lunch before I have to be at my appointment at 2:30. I happened to look at my phone for whatever reason and saw a text from the place that I thought the appointment was at 2:30. It said that I had to be there at 11. So I called him. I was like, "Excuse me, I got a text on my phone. I see y'all text me earlier. I got an appointment today at 2:30, right?" They said, "No, ma'am, your appointment was at 11." So apparently I had two appointments at 11. But when I put it in my phone, I put it in there for 2:30. So when I called the second appointment and made it for 11, I didn't know they was at the same time. So that's me all day. So note to anybody out there that want to date me, you need to know that you need to call me and remind me of any planned dates. Okay, because I'll be sitting here watching Survival on TV. Like, I'm supposed to be somewhere today.
Lord have
That's just me.
mercy. The work,
I'm
the
old.
work, the
I'm
work,
old.
the work, the work, the work.
Yeah. So, but
Mm.
I think that it definitely depends on the person, and I would probably even even if a gentleman made a date with me, if I'm talking to him like on a regular basis up until the date, I may very well say, "Hey, are we still on for tomorrow?" You know what I mean? So I'm not saying I'm above all that. I'm not saying that I would never do that. I just know that I would, as a woman, I would really appreciate him to confirm it because again, I want to take the non-alpha woman role. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
let me be a
Hmm.
damsel in distress. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
matter of
that's
fact, I
why,
need you to come pick me up too.
well, gentlemen, that's why I'm saying if the opportunity presents itself,
Right.
as they say, strike while the iron is hot and
Hmm.
take the lead. I'm just that space of a man. So for some of these young guys that are out here, these younger ones, I speak to a lot of them, and they call me, and um, again, they coming up with their kind of modern versions of things of this nature, and I get it. I really do get it because of they're dealing with young women, and their mindset is different. But at the same time, I'm just real big on look. If you are so lucky or fortunate that she's going to ask you, then take that as a sign that she's into you, and
Hmm.
from there,
Right.
take the ball and you lead.
Right.
But
Because I
Ronnie,
didn't.
she did. She should do. She did. I said maybe she should. I said, but damn it,
Right.
at some point, let's just say it's an incredible date.
Hmm.
At what point are you going to step up and be and handle this? At
Right.
what point is you going to say what she's going to say to herself? Okay, I'm digging this guy in his direction. So
Yes.
you need to do this. So don't wait, or again, don't get. And this is what men mess up, and especially youngsters. I love y'all. We say young thundercats.
Right.
You know, in the ego. Yeah, she asked me because I'm fly like that. Yeah, okay, whatever, whatever. At some point, you're gonna want to lead.
Yeah.
She's gonna want you to lead.
Yeah.
So that is a signal you've got the ball. She's handing it to you.
Hmm.
She's asking, you're going at that point, that's your point. At dinner, let her know who you are and why you're the man and why it was worth her time
Yeah. Absolutely.
and the effort to ask you on this date. And
Yeah.
take it from there, brothers. But anyhow, I'm going off on a
People
tangent,
do get caught up in
and
their
again, so
whatever it is, and that's a whole
yes,
nother story, another day. But
right,
people do get caught up in that, and they want to make a big like, well, she asked me or this and that. I'm like, well, if you wasn't interested in her at all, then don't accept the date. Then
I
you know what I
agree,
mean? Don't
absolutely,
accept the date.
I
Don't
agree.
make it sound like, well, she asked me, I went into her, she was. I didn't heard that stuff before, but that's
Yeah.
another story. But anyway, Ronnie, so as like I said, we're in our third block. We're on day 7 of our 12 days till Christmas, and we are in the block of Flirt On. And I mean, there are so many things that when it comes to flirting, because the first 3 days we were talking about dating mindset, then the second 3 days we were talking about everyone has needs, and now we're in the Flirt On, because all these are milestones when it comes to dating, things that we need to be aware of, and they're all kind of like building on one another.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And so it all leads to our master classes that's coming up in January. And again, for those of you who are out there watching, we're not just like really, really digging into it. This is just the tip. Like, we're just touching over these surfaces. And you really, really have to follow us and join our masterclass to really, really get down deep in some of these subjects that we're talking about. And so tomorrow we will be at day 2 of our block 3. And the main subject will still be Flirt On, but we will come back with another um what is it, alternate subject line to it. But we're still in the Flirt On block. So this has been great, Ronnie, just like
It
always.
was. It was. I
Just like
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And again, I want to confirm. Shout out to the Scorpio women. You ladies are awesome. I don't care what anyone else says. So I'm just making that abundantly clear. And again, to all the other ones, I love you all. Trust me, I love you all. Don't think that I'm, like, well, what about the Virgo woman? What about the? I love you all. I really, again, So,
One day I may have to very well do a relationship zodiac sign.
we should.
You know,
I think that is
but
something
it
that
will
we should.
all be from Sheikah-ism. That's all it will be. It will all be from Sheikah-ism because let me tell you something. Because I think in one way or another, I have probably dealt with all 12 zodiac signs. And I know that it just can't be, if I meet a zodiac sign that's this particular one and they're all like this, you can't tell me that it's just coincidental. They're all like that in their zodiac sign. It's just, you can't tell me anything different because it ain't just so happen. All
Okay.
of them are like that because zodiac signs matter. Zodiac signs matter.
Okay.
And I know which ones do not work for me, okay?
Well, this is where we would be head to head because, oh my goodness, this is, yeah. Okay. We're going to go into it. We're going to have to develop this platform because that particular show, because that's going to be an interesting one.
Listen, I know which ones don't work for me, and I know which ones I will never marry again. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So when
Late.
I meet people with some zodiac signs, I'm like, I can tell you now, it ain't gonna work. It ain't you, it's me. I'm like, it's not you, it's me.
Ladies
I
and
don't want to
gentlemen,
pretend like it's me. It's me. I
ladies and
know me,
gentlemen,
and I'll be in jail.
ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, because I know we're about to go on, I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget datingdiscussions.com where you can see information and a little background on Yashika and I. And if there's some coaching that you would like from Yashika, you can reach out to her there in the calendar and put time in the calendar, as well as me, Ronnie Walker. And also, as a bonus, if you like double the pleasure, you can have coaching from both of us. And so you can also find us at on IG at Ronnie and Yashika. And listen, and on our Facebook group, we welcome you. Share this time, like it. We would love to have and invite many and many of you of that. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
Yashika,
no, you're fine.
because
You're fine.
I
Listen.
just wanted to get the word out there. And you also see the Cash App out there. As you see that this is ad free. And so we do this. And so again, if it's buying something for Yashika, gentlemen from Tiffany's, and I'm happy with Starbucks. If you would like to buy me a cup of coffee, then you see the Cash Apps down there. That please contribute, and it helps to keep the commercials. I mean, to a minimum, and right for now, non-existent. So, I'm sorry, Yashika. You can go ahead and
Oh,
close out.
you're fine.
I've
You're
given
fine. You're fine.
my plugs here.
You're fine. And remember, if you are catching this live, make sure you leave a comment and let us know that you were here or that you are here. And if you're catching on a replay, rather through Facebook or YouTube, just hashtag replay and leave a comment at that point as well so we can know that you did stop by. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you guys tomorrow for day 2 of Block 3. Have a good evening, Ronnie.
Have a good evening, Yashika, and have a good evening, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.